everyone. I hope you did your homework for yesterday. So we will discuss today about it, maybe on the second session today. So Omar coordinates all these activities related to your homework and your certification, of course. On this session, first beginning today, I will start with context in your organization. When I'm saying organization, that means organization in your laboratory. So it is very useful for you. You should to know what is context of your laboratory, who are the interested parties in your laboratory. It is connected with also my yesterday presentation with risk management. So we will see, let's go. Of course, you could ask me some question, or if you have some comment or to share your experience, it could be very useful for all participants, also for me too. So good morning again. And the first slide is, what is context in your opinion? If somebody like to tell me, it is okay. If not, what is context in your opinion, and what is context in your laboratory or in your organization? It is demand of all standards, quality management standards, Series 70,000 and all other standards, also including GUI 31,000, is very important to define context of your organization. You could see that everywhere now. When some external auditor come to your organization, come to your laboratory, first they question, most of them asked, what is context of your laboratory? What is context of your organization? On previous version, the first question from my experience is, do you have quality manual? Can you give me your quality manual, etc., etc. Now, the first question is, what is context of your organization? Also, I would like to share some experience.
Alma.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Alma.
Yes.
It could be like, what's your business? When you are asking, what's the context of your organization?
Yes,
It's look like,
don't worry,
what's your
don't worry.
business?
I have, yes, and I have during this presentation, I have a practical example, so very clear. You will know what is context. It will be very, very easy to decide later after this presentation. Okay, it is purpose of this presentation to know, you to know what is context in your laboratory. Okay. This is actually a very simple question. Why am I existing? What is my mission? Okay, that is very simple question. What is context in you? Because you had context in previous, before ISO standards implementing in your laboratories. Okay, why am I existing? What is my mission? Actually, what is my business? As Omar said, it is okay. I agree with that. And what is my experience is when you're some assessor, peer reviewer, or auditor, I will say auditor, come to your organization and laboratory. First of all, they asked what is the context. Some of them, it is also, I recognize as a risk, because some auditors give have different approach for all of that. Okay, one time one expert auditor asked me, procedure, where is your procedure for context? I was surprised. I don't have a procedure for context. Oh, it is on conformity. Next time, during recertification, our system, the second one, auditor, I prepared all the procedures and gave him. He told me, why you don't need the procedure, or you need the common sense. It is stupid to have procedure. So it's just my experience. If you have some similar experience, I would like to share with you. But also that is one of the risks as I recognize. But it is okay. Context must be documented. Documented information you need to have related to your context. You do not need some procedure, because you should to change every time your procedure, because context you should to reevaluate always on some management review, of course, because it could not stay the same all the time, your context, you should now decide what is your context, but it is not for all the time. Every year, every 6 months, it depends of external issues, for example, internal issues also. So during this presentation today, you will know what is context, you will know what is external issues, you will know what is internal issues. I prepared here very useful case study and to be close to you, to share with you today. And I prepared one SWOT analysis for one company who produced some laboratory equipment. Okay. So let's go. Understanding context on this slide. What does it mean? It is very important to know because it is actually foundation for your implemented quality management system. You need to define influences of various elements of your organization on your organization, actually in your laboratory, and how they reflect on your quality management system. When I'm saying quality management system, I mean all standards you have, because ISO 20025-20 also is quality management standards. So on the first place is company's culture, very important. I talked about it yesterday. Then objectives and goals. Very important. Objective and goals in my language is the same, but there means short-term objectives, objectives in your laboratory, and then we have strategy goals for long-term period. Then we have complexity of products and services, flow of the processes and information. It depends also of size of the organization, markets, I mean environment, customers, etc. I put it also, this also means that detect risks and opportunities related to your business contexts. So who are interested parties? This is definition. It is person or organization that can affect or be affected by or perceive itself to be affected by a decision or activity. So context and interested party also give you information to determine scope of your system. Very important thing also is here to define correctly scope of your laboratory. You have already, you have experienced a lot of you today with implementation quality management system, and you know what is scope. Usually that was on the first place in the quality manuals, etc. Now it is not a demand to have your quality manual, but it is good practice to stay. If you have already quality manual, I could recommend just stay with that. Just put some changes inside. Maybe put your context also on the second side in your quality manual. I put it some examples of interested parties, but that is the same with ISO 7025-20 and other standards. There is 70,000. So who are the interested parties? For example, for the first place, it's you, owner, employees, customer, suppliers also, regulators, very important, investors, society. You could see here, people in organization, also your family, how if you do not have salary, your families also connect with that. So bankers, unions, partner society, top management also, non-governmental organizations, etc., etc. So I will repeat again. You need to know needs and expectation of your interested parties, and it is mandatory requirement of all management systems. You should to recognize that. So on this slide, you have who are the internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Stakeholders, I told you yesterday, are the interested parties. Employees, manager, owners on the first place, then suppliers, society. On the first place is customer, actually, shareholders, creditors, government, etc. Later on, I would like to discuss with you who are the interested parties, for example, for your laboratory, because you have different activities in some of the laboratory, and maybe you could share with us who are the interested parties, maybe for your laboratory, external, for example. How to identify the context of the organization? So, that is new requirement, as I mentioned before, on the whole quality management standards and guides. And you have to consider, first of all, internal and external issues that can impact its strategic objectives on the planning of your quality management system, actually your business. Why is it also important? Context of the organization requires to evaluate yourself, to evaluate itself and its context. And you should share that information. That could be input every time on your management review. That is a new requirement. Okay. When you evaluate your goals, your policies, also you should include context as an input in your management review, because you could have some changes, for example, in political issues now, markets, then pandemic, for example, etc., etc. Okay. So where to start? For example, most of you have also implemented ISO standards and quality management system. And sometimes you should put that in quality manual, sometimes in form of the text or flow chart. That is your choice how that look like. You could put it only on the paper, for example, 2 pages, 1 pages, it depends. And also you could put it in quality manual or flow chart if you like. That is your decision. It is not so prescribed, but you have to, that must to be documented. So first of all, you should decide what is the scope of your quality management system and identifying the processes and their interaction between them. So what's the first step? Identifying internal and external issues. Identifying internal and external parties and their needs. You must know what their needs. You should to recognize their needs. Then next step is to document the context in your organization. And after that, a regular review on management review and monitoring. So I just mentioned that where it should be documented. So that is your choice, as I said previously. Also, it could be very useful when you define that just to put your internal and external issues, actually interested parties. It could be just in some as flow chart is, for example, is very useful to have. What are internal and external issues? It's that clause looks like too much general, and there is the risk of going too wide when defining the internal and external issues. So you must be careful related to this topic. To fulfilling this clause, you should focus only on issues that can affect the customer satisfaction. You should remember that, and delivery of quality product and or your services. This is very important. I will repeat it. Just to be careful when you're defining external issues, especially internal also. And if you are not so sure, just go back and focus only on issues that can affect on the customer satisfaction, first of all, and the delivery of quality your service. Okay. So what are internal and external issues? It is definition. Organization's internal context is the environment in which it aims to achieve its objectives. It's very simple. Internal context can include its approach to governance, for example, contractual relationships with your customers and other interested parties. That things that need to be considered and related to the culture, first of all, values you share in your company, beliefs or other principles inside in your organization, as well as complexity of processes and organizational structure. Okay, to determine external context, you should consider next issues arising from the social, technological, environmental, ethical, political, legal, and economic environment. Okay. So during your regular management review, okay, it is necessary to monitor the organization's internal or external issues because it could be changed, of course. Once the internal context is understood, you should to decide how can you conduct your external analysis, which methodology you will use. You could use political, economical, social, technological, for example. You could conduct it using SWOT analysis. I think SWOT analysis is very simple and it is very useful when you're defining your context, internal issues, and also risks and opportunities connected to that. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats also. It could be give you real benefit for your organization. Okay. So what is important here? I will repeat it. Defining this context to fulfilling this clause, you should focus on the first place only on that issue that can affect the customer satisfaction and delivery of quality service and product. So I will start with some case study to be clear what I said previous. If you have some to add or some questions, just feel free. Before this, I present this case study. Okay. I use small company from the Southeast Europe. I just call it ABC company. This company produce some laboratory equipment and export their products to for some time in Germany, in Europe. German customer required implementation, some of them of standards, quality management standard. And what is the first step for the owner of that company is? First step, implementation of the standard is definition context of the organization. When you start to implement quality management standard, first of all, you have to define context of the organization. So the country where ABC company is located is not in European Union member state, and over 90% of its product are exported to Germany. Their product delivery includes not only the production, laboratory equipment, but also include installation. Okay, this is story. Related to the story, we will make a SWOT analysis. Okay. Considering that the company employees cannot stay in Germany more than 3 months without getting working visa. That is information. So the employees are organized into teams where one team is abroad in charge of installation of the laboratory equipment, while other 2 teams are working at home location on production. Once this 3 months period expire, the team abroad switch with one of the teams located at home location. Then each team has mechanical engineer in charge and several shift managers that control and supervise the rest of employees. Employees are highly skilled for the operations that they conduct, so there is no so much formalism in reporting and getting instructions from superiors, actually from their chiefs, heads. So, since the most of these products are delivered to Germany, the company is obliged to apply Germany and EU regulations regarding product quality, environmental protection, and occupation health and safety. Being present on German market more than 5 years, the company identifying all legal requirements together with the requirements of their customer, which is one big German company, and they are one of the subcontractors. Domestic market has far less requirement, but it is struggling, and prices of the foreign markets and are more favorable. So, what is the future? What is the future direction of this ABC company? The future direction of the company is to meet requirements of its foreign customer and try to find another customer in EU countries. So, top management of ABC company decided to conduct SWOT analysis to examine the context of its organization. Okay, that is very important related to further in the identification of risks and opportunities. So that could be actually exercise for you. After all of these slides, you could find what are the strengths and what are weaknesses. You could add something if you have some idea, but I put here this. Strength. What is strength of this company? Strength are high-skilled employees, for example. Competitive product also because of price and very experts, very good actually educated experts in that area. Then good relations with German customer, that is strengths. What weaknesses of this company? For example, visa issue, not enough teams to cover entire year during whole year. Then dependence the only one client. It could be weakness of this company. Then lack of marketing activities in EU countries, lack of capacities to engage with other EU customers. Do you have some more idea what could be weakness of this company or strengths? So, what are the opportunities? Low price of, they put it, this company, low price of our product makes us highly competitive on EU market. Home country is favorable towards the export and open funding for exporting companies, then expansion to the other EU markets. Treats competition from the other EU countries. It is recognizes that better economic situation of our main supplier, for example. Failure to meet demands of our customer because of limited capacities and unfavorable loan conditions. It is related to the financial issues. So, related to this SWOT analysis, that is include all of it. What is internal context and external context in this company? Could somebody tell me? I put it also, what is external context? Regulations related to the EU laws, legal requirements, etc., etc. They find that as external issues, actually external context. What is internal context here? Very well engineers also, okay.
Enablers.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, this is also internal context in this organization, highly skilled employees also, this organization, support from the domestic countries, laws in the countries, etc. It is internal context of that organization, okay? This is an external context. No other issue is connected with that. With supplier, it is also external context. Dependence to only on the one client, also weakness also, you could see that. Visa issue also external context, not enough teams to cover entire year, it is internal context. Lack of marketing activities in EU countries, also internal context. Lack of capacities to engage with other EU customers is internal context. Highly skilled employees, internal context, competitive product also, both of them combined. Good relations with the German customer also is combination, internal and external context. Opportunities, low price of product. It's highly competitive, and EU market also is connected with external contacts and internal decisions also, but it is strictly external. Home country is favorable towards to the export, also external context, expansion to the EU markets. It depends on the politics of that ABC company. It is also connected to internal contexts. Competition from the other EU country, external context, bad economic situation, also external failure to meet demands to their customer because of limited capacities, also is internal context, and unfavorable loan conditions is also external context. So I hope on this case it is now much more clear what is internal and external context for some organization. Or a similar way, you should to decide and define your context in your organization, in your laboratory. Also, it depends of nature of your activities in a laboratory. Okay, do you have some questions or something to add?
Yes, if
okay.
Regarding the context, I don't know if there is a program, they call it integrated definition method, IDFO.
Sorry. Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
It is not
context...
a question.
Just consultation. Okay.
Yes, it is. There is a program. We call it integrated definition methods. It's named IDFO.
IDFO. Okay.
You know it, I think. So for IDFO, you can have like a process describing the inputs, enablers, constraints, and output, and the quality of your checking quality of your output. And then you can describe all of this as a context.
Oh, great. Yes.
So maybe we can call it like a process context.
Okay, it is very good consultation, but also as I said previous, it is also depend of activities on your organization and of size and scope of your organization. Of course, if you have small laboratory with 5 people, it's also depend. If you are a big company, maybe it is much more useful to use these ideas. But for example, I think using some this kind of analysis, you also could decide what is the context of your organization, because before this ISO deciding to implement QMS, you also have a context in your organization. You have some managers that they know the context. Just now it is mandatory to put it on the paper. Okay.
So if I have a process for the lab and describing it it is not in detailed manner, maybe consider it as context, right?
You should describe your procedure, but you have to recognize your interested parties. A process, sorry. You have to know your interested party. Of course. You know what is your process, but you have to define what is internal context. You have a definition in standard what is internal context and external context, and I could go back on the previous slides for the definition. So many issues could be, and what is connected to your laboratory, what have directly influence on your activity, you should to recognize. It is also connect with your processes, of course. But most important thing is influence of it on your customer. Customer satisfaction is on the first place now. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, after understanding this context, this top management of this ABC company made SWOT analysis and included some QMS documentation, and they don't want, for example, third-party assessor, for example, a certification auditor, don't want to give some information. It could happen also that some management don't want to share some information because sometimes they don't trust. It depends of culture, etc. So you final solution in this case is actually to require from that auditor to sign this non-disclosure agreement. Actually, it is added additional one more to make sure to minimize, for example, risk for this management, to provide that information will be protected and confidential. Okay. Because the obligation of auditor also to have to sign this similar document in their company, in its certification company, but also you could, it is a case from practice that company ABC asked for one more document to minimize risk, to provide some information. Okay. So after that, I would like to share with you, for example, if you know context and internal parties of in your laboratories, if somebody wants to share your experience or have some more questions related to that, feel free. Because we start with this topic, risk-based thinking in ISO 7025. Okay, so let's go. Risk-based thinking in 7025, we'll repeat it. What is the 5 most important steps in ISO 75 laboratory risk management process? First step is identifying risks and opportunities. Okay, in previous example, ABC company, we identifying in risk and opportunities for that company. Could somebody tell me what is the opportunities for ABC company? To go to EU market, for example. Okay. What are the risks for? Okay.
I think it was
Alma,
like,
is it
Okay,
the
okay,
threat
I
when
can
you
hear
are
you.
yeah, when you are trying to do the SWOT analysis? Is the risk is the threat that you identify in SWOT analysis?
Is it not identifying SWOT analysis? Is that threat? What you're asked? Sorry.
No.
Yeah, you define threat in SWOT analysis. Actually, you identifying some of the risks also. Okay.
Is it the threat in this SWOT
Yes.
analysis considered as a risk?
Yes.
also weaknesses,
Yes.
Engineer
And
Ammar.
yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And what is
Samia
risk
says
of
that also weaknesses
yes.
is considered as a risk.
Yes, of course. Weaknesses
No,
is
but
considered, and also yeah, threats. Okay. Do you
but
know
let
complete?
us let us know that a risk as defined is what they call it, a state of uncertainty. Is that
Uncertainty
right?
to achieving, yes, uncertainty to achieving your goals in your, for
Yes.
example, your laboratory.
What it
Yes.
means that threat, you know the threat. There's no uncertainty in you. I identify the threats, so you know
Okay.
that. So there is no
Okay.
uncertainty of that. And even weakness, what your weakness, so you can but risk you don't know. Is that what we mean by it's uncertain?
Well, yes. You
That's
know your weakness.
we have to yeah.
Yes, you are right. You know your weakness. It is one of the steps. Okay, in risk management, and after that you will to identify what is the risk related to your weakness. And yesterday I talked about vulnerability of your system and exposure to that. Okay, so after that you should identify risk as uncertainty to achieving your goals. Yeah, correctly, Omar. Yeah, that
As
would
we
be the right way.
discussed,
Yeah,
as we discussed yesterday, threats mainly related to security issues,
of course.
right?
Of course. Yes,
So,
yes, of course.
and sometimes we can control it, and sometimes we cannot control
No,
it.
no. Yes. Yes. Could you give me some example? Which trait we could not control?
You mentioned yesterday some of threats cannot control.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. For example, if you have
For
some
example,
idea,
cyber attack.
We could not control, but we could minimize. We could minimize that risk.
Yes,
but not
as I
completely
mentioned
control.
yesterday. Yes,
Mhm.
we can any threats we can control it.
Mm.
If we have a foreseeable, events or something behind the threat design base, but we have, as I mentioned yesterday, like a default procedure or scenario to respond to any events. But mainly threats.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is also connect to risk management. Okay, you'll find what is your trait. Sometimes we could control, sometimes we cannot, but it is very important to recognize them. You could use your SWOT analysis, that is your choice. Would you use gap analysis, for example, also is very useful. So it depends of you which kind of analysis you will use to help you to identifying later on your risks. Okay. And what could we not control? For example, pandemic was one case, but we also undertake some steps during that pandemic to just try to minimize some risks. And I mentioned yesterday, it is very important to have business resilience standards now is very popular, because of that, because some of the company innovated during a pandemic period now, because have to actually innovate and try to that risk to cover some activities with that innovations. Okay, so the first step during risk management is identifying, we'll repeat it, identifying risks and opportunities. We forgot many times the opportunities, and avoiding opportunities also the risks. Sometimes taking the opportunities also could be risks. And also I mentioned yesterday what is risks for for somebody, it is opportunity for some other. Okay. Then step 2 is when you identifying your risks, and what is very useful when you identifying your risks to have risks team. What else? More people include during identifying risks in your organization. Who is owner of risk? Could you tell me? We talked yesterday about it. Who is owner of risk? Who will decide what is risk? Who will in your laboratory identifying risks? For example, I'll give me just in your practice, what is usual?
Usually process owner.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, but not always process owner is not risk owner. Yeah, and if you have, it is very useful to have brainstorming, checklists, interviews, and other maybe which kind of method you prefer. Okay, and when your owner process identifying risks, what is the next step, for example, in your laboratory? You had homework yesterday. You should do identifying 3 risks in your laboratories. I suppose all of you identifying at least 3 risks and 1 opportunity. And what is the next step? Evaluate.
Evaluate, yes.
Yes. Do you discuss with somebody with that? Because it is not only responsibility only on owner of process, okay?
What evaluating, you need to decide what's the likelihoods of occurring of this risk and the impact of this risk on your organizations.
Yes.
I think this is how you evaluate that.
Yes, of course. And who did it? How much employees involved in that? I would like to hear, for example, is it only one person or?
Alma, if may I respond? I believe everybody is involved in the lab, not only the owner of the process, even the end users, the staff, the management, all of them supposed to be involved.
Yes, Yes, I agree, because it is very important. Thank you. It is very
No,
important
but
to have
Samia,
culture.
Samia,
Okay.
here's what we are talking about: accountabilities. Whose account? That's what
Exactly, yes.
Alma is referring. Yes, everyone is concerned in the lab, but you need to, define the accountabilities of the risk. Who is accountable for this risk? Is that right, Alma?
Yeah, yeah. I agree with Samia also, and with Omar too, on some way. Samia it is correct to have risk culture in your organization, risk culture in your laboratory. Everyone could recognize risk. Maybe I could recognize risk on some other processes, for example. And Omar is also correct. It is very important who will responsible to for risk monitoring, and who will decide the steps how to mitigate that risk, how to treat that risk. Okay, you are owner of the process, you know what is your risk, and what next?
The main point, sorry, Alma, about the lack of responsibilities. If you have like many people might be involved for identifying risk and to monitor it and so on. So you have to have one person monitors the risks and identify it in consultation with with all of the laboratory staff. But to
Okay,
avoid lack of responsibilities, you have to identify one person dedicated for this task.
That is practice in your laboratory. You have, for example, what called risk manager, for example.
It is a practice based on my experience in nuclear emergency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, valid. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is important to have person who will monitor, but who will decide what could we undertake? I think top management is on the first place. So communication is very important related to that risks. Well informed. It's also mandatory to top management in your organization, your company must be must have properly information related to these risks, because actually it is his decision finally to provide sources how to treat these risks. Am I right?
Yes, it should be like a committee from people know their stuff. And usually, if you have integrated management system, you have a committee for integrated management system. You have a chairman, and they can decide and approve your document related to risk.
Okay, after you decide what should which action will be undertake, what next? What is the next step?
Alma, can I ask?
Yes.
Please, because this is the importance. Actually, from my, experience, when we are evaluating the risk, I think we do not have a good experience, or criteria to really evaluate the risk, and based on that decide whether it's minimal risk or high risk or whatever it is. So evaluating the risk, do you have, we have to consider some things in that. Can you elaborate in that?
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. It is also risky how you undertake some activities related to this risk treatment. I mentioned a couple times yesterday, use common sense. Okay, if you could see you are going too wide with your categorization, high, middle, low, etc., you could go back and change it. Of course, that is okay. So that is actually need time for that to evaluate the risk. You need one cycle. You saw yesterday that cycle. After evaluation, you have monitoring and re-evaluation. Okay.
Can I add something?
Yes. Yes, feel free.
Yes, you can identify it based on the operating experience of such practice. And also you can have like brainstorming on foreseeable events. So you have to consider the international operating experience. And as I mentioned, foreseeable risks, you can identify it with your colleagues based on their experience.
I would like to hear your experience after monitoring. What are the experience after? Because we forgot to monitor. Okay, most of us are focused only to identifying risk, to evaluate and rank the risk. So it is high, it is not. Or prepare some register. We recognize that. Determine some action, maybe okay, give the time to be just measurable. But what is the step 5? What is the step 5? Is it a good or bad experience? We heard Omar. Yeah.
As per my experience and my knowledge in food safety, usually the risk assessment team is are the people, as Mr. Walid said, who are evaluating and identifying the risk, and risk manager is the owner of the risk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you find sometimes that after monitoring that some actions are not so useful, so you could change it. Also, I said it could be case also your goals are not could not be achieved. Maybe sometimes it is not so usual, but it happened. You should change sometimes your goals. Okay, because risk is uncertainty to achieving your goals in your laboratory. Okay, so.
And I added something for
Yes,
this also.
yes, of course.
When you have a risk and identify it, you have enablers in your lab or in your organization. Enablers like staff, system, and so on. So you have to compare between the risk and the enablers. And if there is like a deficiency in your enablers, like staff, equipment, like physical protection system, and so on, you can request more enablers for you to avoid the risks.
Yes.
And you have, of course, like action plan for each risk.
Of course. Yeah, of course. So I hope you did your homework. Maybe you later on after a coffee break, we could discuss about it. Okay, thank you. It is very useful information for me also and for other participants. So I am inviting other participants to include, to be involved in this conversation too, because we could learn so much from our experience during this period, because it is a new requirements of all of these standard risk-based thinking, risk and opportunities also. Yeah. Okay, I mentioned yesterday what is first level, second level. Also, it could be other series of other 70,000 standard, and also other quality management standards than ISO 9001. It's also information security management system, environment management system, occupation health and safety management system, and other. So what is important here? These new standards are very customer service oriented. So you should have to bear in mind all the time that all of these standards, including 70 or 25 and other, are very customer service oriented standards. So both of these standards are quality management standards. So that what set them apart is the scope and the requirements. The requirement of ISO 70 or 25 are specific to testing and calibration laboratories only. So 9001 applies to organization in all industry. It is very important for other processes, other support. We call support processes, but they are very important processes like financial, human resource, and managerial activities, actually top management. If you have one of these standards implemented, it is very easier to add another standard to integrate all of them. So on this slide, you have some examples of identifying risk. What is very important for your laboratories implemented this ISO 70 or 25 involves issue as impartiality, confidentiality, and independence, as well as professional competence. That is the most important thing you should to know. Okay, examples of identifying risks are here. For example, lack of appropriate planning for production and services. Laboratory equipment could be too old. A laboratory is not well organized, for example, lack of personnel or lack of appropriate education, training, lack of effective communication mechanism internally and externally. I mentioned it yesterday many times, very important. Horizontal communication, vertical communication, as you called. So could you add something as example here to identifying risks in your laboratory? What is usual for your practice in your laboratory?
Lack of security.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I can hear you now.
Lack of security.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. And this is just some of these examples, but maybe just one of the most important. Okay, when you identifying risk, and this actually risks are also connect which context? Could somebody tell me? These examples of these risks are connected with which internal context, okay? It is all connect to internal context in your laboratory.
Yes, right.
So,
is it process?
Yes.
It
Yes.
is. And
Yes.
within the process, is it?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going back to this example from yesterday. We just should pass yesterday using this information for this from this register. This is just an example of one register. So could somebody tell me, is risk procedure mandatory? Do you have risk procedure?
No, it's not stated in the updated version.
Yeah, okay. What is mandatory?
The implementation, the risk matrix that you are showing right now, and the records that how you
Yes.
corrected control measures and so on.
Yes, 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 you are right. Okay. Mandatory is you to have to prove, you have to document the information related how you treat your risks related to your risk management, all of these steps. You have to prove that, but if you have a risk procedure, it is not non-conformity. I mentioned also that, but it is not mandatory. Okay. So this is one of the example. We could repeat it again now. The defined area, laboratory activities, activities or process. They include the sample collection here. Quality concern, they put actually recognized risk is misidentification for some sample received in laboratory is not placed in controlled environment. So it is ranking here, likelihood or probability, severity rating, and risk rating finally. So existing controls in place, what should they undertake, which corrective action, actually preventive action in some cases. So we have here sample receiving person from laboratory, verify name, identification criteria, so etc. So laboratory is turned in sample, logo and batch number code, etc. I mentioned it yesterday. So we have some other just examples from practice. We have here inaccurate test parameters, for example. Then laboratory person perform tests in laboratory without considering environment condition. Inaccurate measurement, very important. Recognize risk. So what should you undertake in that case? Point 6 is laboratory instruments are calibrated from accredited laboratory for accurate measurement. Okay. Then we have chemical spillage, for example, spillage. It is very risky for staff health and other environment. So it is laboratory has chemical spill kit available and emergency eye wash its place to avoid serious injury. It is very important to have it in this kind of activities in some laboratories. Preparing test result here, we have activity, a laboratory person prepare test report without performing test on specimen. Equipment lookbooks are available in which all data of equipment are recorded on daily basis, etc.
Dr.
So,
Alma?
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
regarding rating the evaluation, for example, item number 7, It was the probability, or probably the likelihood times the severity 3 times 4 is 12. So it is high risk. Then after the control measures, they re-evaluated to 3 times 1. How you re-evaluate or reduce from 4 to 1? How you calculate this one?
Okay,
based on
it
what?
is 3 multiplied 4 is 12. Actually, it is in heat zone, and you should undertake immediately some activities. You should not, you could not wait to undertake some activities to solve this problem, because in heat, but you are in heat. But sometimes, sorry, I recognize in some cases, some using this formula, you go on heat zone, but it is not actually high risk. And it is also, I found during this time. So people were confused during this formula sometimes, okay, and just I go back to common sense, okay, using this. If you find it is too complicated and sometimes you do not understand, it is not so correctly in practice, you should, to minimize something, to decide from a minimum, and after that you could change it in the future if it's too low, for example. So in this concrete case, actually I'm not expert for chemical laboratories. Maybe some could involve from the chemical industry and the chemical expert how to solve this. In this case, laboratory has chemical spill kit available, and the emergency. Actually, I'm not expert in this, but I don't know what should they undertake to solve this problem.
But I mean, in general, to recalculate the likelihood and severity, do you have a specific criteria to go through? As you said,
no specific criteria.
you calculating that?
No. You should. That is your choice. Which way you will use? Okay, because guide 31,000, and I strongly recommend 31010. It is very, very useful document. You should to have it because.
Can you say it again? ISO
31 ISO 110 31010.
Okay.
Okay, if we will have time, I will open the document to see you what is inside on this document. So
later in break time, if you have time.
Yeah,
now you can proceed.
I will send. Actually, I could send to you. You could contact me, and I could send to Omar to you to have the document to see. Yeah, I think it is very useful when you are identifying your risk and treating your risk, because it is described in details. Every activity, and so just read carefully, and that will not be confusion about, because guide 31,000 is generally explained, but ISO 31010 explained all activities you should undertake, and you will choose methodology what is useful for your activities. This is just guide. It is not strongly recommend nothing. It is your choice what you will use to calculate which methodology. But I said yesterday, don't be so wide, don't be so complicated. Just start from minimum. You could change it next time. Okay, you have monitoring. Okay, if you realize that is not so enough, I need more. But for the beginning, start from the minimum. And later on you will see, because I find it is very risky if you go too wide, because the risk treatment could be very complicated, but it is not. It depends also of you. It depends of your team. Sometimes, what is your appetite to undertake some risks? You took some risks, but you could not. It is too much costly sometimes to take some activities. Sometimes you should recognize. It's important to recognize risk, but okay, that is my risk. You should document also that. Yeah, recognize it. It's also documented information, but I don't want to undertake anything about it because too much costly for me. To happen some risk is maybe much less costly for me if I undertake some activities. It is important to know. Okay. So the next one, okay, we have just, I just give you from practice some example what is risk recognized in some laboratory. So you could see, due to peer pressure from company owner, top management interfere to change test result. It is very, it's big risk. It depends of ownership also, and it is also connect to impartiality and confidentiality. Also, we could see here in this register. It is high risky. Going on 15 point. So laboratory authorized persons and management have signed non-disclosure agreement with company in case of violation. Legal action can be taken against person. Okay, and the ABC has good reputation in market, so top management owner can't force to adulterate result to avoid minimal loss as compared to company reputation. Okay, it is interesting. I hope you do not have some similar experience in your practice. So what is also I would like to mention 14 point, also connect to impartiality during performing tests. Laboratory person adulterate report due to good relation with customer. So test report adulteration is not possible in case of active because its result is automatically generated from system. In case of aging, volume, pH, logbooks are maintained. So do you have some experience related to this topic now, what I mentioned now, and how could we solve? Actually, it is you could not avoid that kind of risk. You could not, but you try to minimize that risk. Okay. So impartiality also connect to shared equipment, shared facilities. Laboratory facilities used by production of store department for its activities is also ranked very high in red heating matrix. So laboratory facility is dedicated for testing activities only, and persons are authorized for this. Unauthorized persons are not allowed in laboratory. Okay. So on 16, impartiality also shared equipment due to unavailability of some desired equipment. Laboratory use production or store department equipment for its activities. Also very dangerous activities. ABC laboratory has dedicated equipment in the laboratories that is not available in other department. Other than these supporting equipments like monitors, etc., backup are available in laboratory. Okay. So how it looks like a matrix, I will repeat it. It is also connected to your homework and we will discuss about your examples after a coffee break. And now I will repeat, this is one just example of risk heating matrix. So I mentioned what is in the red zone, you should to undertake immediately some activities, but what we find something using formula, some of the risks go to the red zone, heating zone, but it is not. It is not case, for example, it is not so high risks in a company, so just be careful and use what is your best solution using common sense. Okay. So very high is defined at least once day. I will not read it again. And you have this description here. For example, what is very low? Little no impact on testing activities or the personal performance activity. Actually, you do not need a very low column at all. For example, maybe it is enough you to have low. Okay. Low impact due to change in work environment, which may create delays in testing activities. And value 3 is medium impact. Medium impact due to change in work environment or equipment, which may lead to ambitious testing result. And the value 4 is described as high impact. High impact due to personal grievances or pressure on the personal performing the test, which may lead to compromised test result or falsified report, ultimately lead to high financial loss. Very important. And value 5, very high impact due to illegal activity, compromise, change in report for personal gains, and it could be court include, etc., Okay. So the next one, is one example also of risk register here. Also, you have, for example, website design, design issue, customer involvement. For example, risk description here is and their impact. For example, somebody found risk is customer include and connect with customer involvement. They said our customers are not ready for the change. And what could you do related to that? Not so much, but you could do something. Okay, arrange meeting with customer. You can do that to see how we can help. And they gave the date. Oh, okay, I think that could be continuous activity, actually, not only just during this mitigation. That is my opinion. What do you think about it? Okay, the application design was not reviewed by the architect, and also they arranged a workshop to arrange another meeting, etc., etc. On the first case, we have risk title, website design, and description of it, and possible mitigation. This is just examples of possible mitigation in one organization. So they move to the project to go live, work on during weekends, add more resources to the project, etc. On some way, during possible mitigation of that risk, they put date close. Okay, license expire. Could be high risk for me, from my side of view. So possible mitigation is moved to alternate tool, amend project budget to include software costs. Also, date close, they don't put it. So this is also you should know input for management review. It is now mandatory. You have prescribed in all ISO standard which kind of standard you have implement. What are inputs in management review, and one of these is also must be include and edit with others also risk register. It is very important to discuss on that level, and after that undertake other activities, preventive actions, etc. Okay. So on this slide's previous version are mentioned impartiality, confidentiality, very important issues. So what says standard? 4.1.3 said laboratory shall be responsible for the impartiality of its laboratory activities and shall not allow commercial, financial, or other pressures to compromise impartiality. Okay. One of the example, what should you undertake to minimize that risk? Self-declaration, for example, you should your staff you should sign self-declaration. So I would like to share experience with you. Is it on yearly basis or only one during period? What is your experience related to during risk treating risk to impartiality in your laboratory? Because some of the accreditation body asked to be re-evaluate and self-declaration side sometimes during every 12 months, for example, but some of certification body ask not to be signed every year, just enough one time, etc. So that is the one way how could we minimize the risk for impartiality? Self-declaration, okay?
If you want me to give my side, how we do it, Alma,
okay.
Within the job description of the staff involved in the laboratory, it is stated regarding the impartiality within their roles. Also, the top management, we have made an agreement with the top management. They will not be involved in the technical decisions or reporting the calibration certificates.
Yes.
So the result stays as it is without any alteration or changing it.
Yes, I agree with that. Top management also should sign this kind of document. It's also included. I just put this example for staff, how it looks like, for example, how that will look. What you put on the text is also dependent of you. Thank you, Samia. Yeah, very useful comment.
It's because
yeah, okay.
Because our laboratory is under a bigger organization and we are a regulatory body. So everybody is saying it's a conflict. How a calibration lab is under a regulatory body. But this is how it's running here in UAE. So that's why we make the agreement with the top management and everything. So to become independent and the technical staff.
Oh, great. Not influence of top management to the staff, not pressure, etc. And which standards do you have implement? Which standards you have implement?
The ISO, you mean?
Yes, ISO, yeah.
We have the accreditation of ISO 17025. We have also for the confidentiality 27001. We have also for business continuity and occupation health and safety and so on.
Oh, great. Yeah, you have a lot of experience. Yeah. I'm surprised and that's very great. You have actually integrated system and business continuity when you implemented that?
This one probably 2 to 3 years ago.
Okay. And that helps you to integrate all of these systems and recognize all the risks, yeah?
Yes, it's been integrated in our risk register, specifically for business continuity. And this one, it really been effective during the pandemic. Because we don't want, during the lockdown, everything, we don't want any disruption for our business. So it really worked during the pandemic.
Okay, this is the ISO 22301, am I right? Business continuity management, 22,000, ISO, business continuity. And if you like, I would like to share some experience with you related to business continuity. So I will be free to contact you. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Later on, of course, after this presentation.
Inshallah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Send me your contact because it is very interesting using the business continuity standard during this pandemic.
It's the business continuity that you are mentioning is 22301, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And innovation also is connected to that. So I would like to just to see your experience during that period. Is it okay?
Yes. Why not?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
So let's go on the next. What is very important during understanding risk in your laboratory, for example, you should put your objective in your organization. This is just one of the example. It could be reliability of calibration result. That is objective of some laboratory. I use this information from some of my colleagues who are experts for this area in some laboratory. So objective is reliability of calibration result. Also, it could be linked to the 0.85 in 70 or 25 standard. Also, it is connected to risks. During risk analysis, he used probability matrix method and consider all consequences to achieve a mentioned objective previous. The matrix consists of two elements, the consequence or severity of risk in any scale, for example, from 1 to 3, it depends on you. I just recommend to just start from minimum and then you will see is it useful for you. Then you have 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. The probability of risk is any similar scale. So you can see on this heat map on this matrix how it is nominated: probability, rare, unlikely, possible, probable, and very likely. So consequences and severities here. So method, they found that the method of consequence and probability matrix has strength and limitation in some cases.
Sorry, can you please walk to next before slide? Yes, here under the probability rare 1 and unlikely 2, but I noticed the probability it is ranged from 0 to 1. 1 that means 100%, and 0 that means will not this event will not happen. How it is coming here? Take 1, 2, 3, 4, more than 1.
It depends on you. It depends on you. Actually, I would like to mention again. It depends of activities of your laboratory. If you are working in a nuclear sector, nuclear area, you have to undertake strictly specification and using regulations also in the country. But if you are doing some other activities, also depend of that. And you should decide using your team, risk team, brainstorming. How could we decide which scale we are using? Also, as I said, previous, you could use document 31010 to decide which methodology is much more useful for your activities. You should decide that as owner of your processes. Okay, when you recognize your risk, how that have impact and influence on your goals. That is one way how you could achieve that. And I recommend for normally I recommend, it's my opinion also, just mine, just start from minimum, because I found in some organization risk treatment start to be risk. Okay, risk management, risk activities in that company start to be risk, because no added value and no benefit finally for that organization. Too much papers, too much Excel sheets, too much time spending, undertake some activities for some risks. I recommend you should to recognize all the risks, but you do not need to treat every risk. But you should to decide. You should to decide as owner of your processes which scale you will, how you will rate it. Okay. Also, you could use experience previous of some previous your colleagues, history of previous, because of this. Before of this standard, you had also risks, but we did not call risk management standard or the risk-based thinking, etc., etc. But every manager, every staff ahead of laboratory know 10 years ago or 15 years ago, they have some risks. Okay. Just use the history of data also, it could be very useful, and some experts also and consultation also you can use.
Sorry,
okay.
I have a question.
So, yes.
Regarding the consequences and severity, do you have example or criteria model for identifying consequences and severity? You have to have a model or criteria. Okay.
Oh yeah, that is the model I used for my colleagues. Actually, they choose this for their laboratory, and yeah, they use the severity and consequences. This put in this table, and that's very useful for them. Yeah. How often they will happen, and what is the consequence? Is it in heat area, red color, etc., etc. So,
Alma,
yeah.
If you go back a few slides, I think you showed us the definition. There is definition for the consequences and definition of likelihood before this one. Again? No, I think you went too far.
Yeah, okay.
Here. No, go back.
No.
I've seen it if you go back, but slowly. Here, stop.
Here.
Yes, if you can see the definitions, the description, this is like it's making more sense, the numbers in which level, so we can calculate based on the definitions or the description. And
yeah, it could be much more useful, this description here. When you put your heat matrix on one side, you could put also definition and description, and maybe it is a good practice to have procedure, for example, which describe this, and that is the easier way to make your register.
Good catch.
Okay.
Samuel.
Okay, and now I would like to mention what they find as trend. It is easy and practical to use metrics for them. It provides ranking of risks at different level of significance. Don't be so much stressful related to decide which level of risk it is. Just start from minimum, and after monitoring you will decide is it enough for your activities. So you could change it. It is actually one of demand is continual improvement risk management tool. Okay, so limitation, it is difficult to define the scale for rating. For example, it is very subjective. Different graders will most likely get different rating and result. So you will choose what is most acceptable for you. You could put your related to your good practice chart, for example. It is also acceptable if it is a good or best way to monitor and treat your risks. So risk cannot be aggregated, they find. One cannot define that a number of low risk is equivalent to medium risk, okay, for example. And it is difficult to combine or compare the level of risk for different categories of consequences. It is interesting limitation they find in this case, in this method. So that is the one example of register they found. Objectives. What is objective for this laboratory is reliability of calibration test results. So they find treat and add another opinion. It is scenario, possible scenario also, and description of that. So treat, description of treat is lack of professional competence. Scenario and description is lack of documented knowledge and deep understanding of the requirements used for decision making. So severity level is 5, they decided, probability or likelihood is 3, and after that they found using formula risk level is 15. Evaluation, after evaluation, they decided that is not acceptable. They put what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, previous version. So treatment is needed. So in this register, you cannot see in detail what treatment is it. So you should decide in detailed what is that treatment. So could you suggest what could be that? You should maybe add another column, or maybe it is on a different document, but what you should undertake related to this risk. Could you tell me something? Okay, lack of professional competence. First scenario is lack of documented knowledge and deep understanding of requirements used for the decision making. It is not acceptable. It is on heat area, red area, need treatment. And what is, in your opinion, should do that, related to that?
Have the right reference, then provide training, refresh courses if they already have taken, start doing implementation, and of course record.
Yes, and thank
Record
you. Yes, it is very important to measure what you mentioned. Just put correctly the name of staff, who is responsible for that, who will monitor their education for training, for example, and put a date.
And some of them, they always forgot about pre-assessment and post-assessment after any project
that,
or training.
Yes, of course. And I think, in my opinion, in this case, to be measured, that just put some period of time. Okay, until August 2012, 2022, or example, or sometimes you need continuous education, continuous refreshing, etc., etc. But after these remarks, you should undertake some corrective action, because and for the future preventive action related to this risk treatment. You could put it only in the same register too. It could be also useful. And also I like some register when you have open and closed forms, remarks. Okay. So the next scenario is for this laboratory was lack of knowledge of the items of calibrations. Also, they find a big risk level.
Alma, I just want to remind you the break is due right now. It's 10:30.
Okay, thank you,
just finish
Omar.
and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Omar. Okay, I will finish only this slide so we can continue after coffee break. So lack of knowledge of the item of calibration, also treatment is needed. Also, just think about it during coffee break. What could we undertake related to this scenario? And lack of appropriate education. It is actually similar scenario here. And what you should do for the future. For example, I have some idea immediately what could to prevent in the future these activities. I think most of you already have some program related to how to measure competence of the people, how educate, train, monitor, etc. Okay, thank you, and we will continue after coffee break. And after coffee break, before coffee break, I sent some example to Omar yesterday. So I would like to see how you solve this, what is the risks in your laboratory, or if you have some problem during identifying and treating some risks or questions, I would like to hear that and share your experience. Okay, thank you. See you in the 15 minutes.
Hello, Alma, you are back?
Yes, hello. I'm back.
Yeah, still we have 20 seconds to end.
Okay, don't worry.
We are meteorologists. We have to stick with the time.
Yes. Okay. We are in time.
Okay. Yeah, Alma, the floor to you right now. You can start.
Thank you,
Can you
Omar.
share or can we stop
You,
sharing?
sorry, stop sharing or what? You can see my presentation?
Yeah, you can share. No, we cannot.
You
I
cannot.
will stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah,
You stop
I will stop
sharing.
sharing.
Just a moment. Okay. Now, could you see now?
Yes, clear.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So let's start again. Okay. During this first session, we talked about registers as a practical issue of risk assessment is some calibration laboratory with objective reliability of calibration result. Risk identification was lack of professional competence, and we had three scenarios. So first scenario was the lack of documented knowledge and deep understanding of the requirements used for decision making. Second scenario was lack of knowledge of the items of calibration, and laboratory staff are not so familiar and they don't have deep knowledge of the items under calibration. And the third scenario, lack of appropriate education. Laboratory staff do not have adequate education necessary to have understanding of the calibration work, documents, and procedures. So, fourth scenario, do you have some ideas? I also would like to share information with you your risks in your laboratory connected to homework, related to homework I gave to you yesterday. Or you could talk now if you have some idea what could be some next scenario or from your experience or something maybe potential risks in the future. So Omar, would you like to coordinate related to the homework for some participants, or they will give some information related to that, or you have intention to discuss about it maybe later on? So could you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just I will give you some time just to think about it more, and I will talk about also important topics related to the risks. Just think about these risks, and we will discuss later. Before that, I would like to mention simply naming your risks does not allow you to build an effective risk register. You must assess each scenario. You must have to predict all scenario, and with a strong understanding of the business actual of your processes in your laboratory and how the risk can impact your ability to continue operation. It is very important when you identifying your risks. Okay. Very important is you to have effective risk register, not only pro forma risk register, because you implement all of these systems, and it is not because of auditors, it is not because of pro forma, actually that have to give you added value to your company, to your institute, and to your laboratory. It is also important to be consistent in how you rank each risk in terms of frequency and severity. Okay, if consulting those with your organization isn't providing sufficient understanding, look elsewhere. That was the question about this. So that is one of the options how you could manage it and cope with this issue. So what is important also for you to know is revisit and modify. Revisit your rankings with the risk management team at least quarterly. It is just recommendation. It's also up to you and up of your activities and actual scope of your activities. Then discuss if the status of any existing risks has changed or if any risks should be placed of the map actually on the register. So that is the reason why your map would be helpful tool that help to your laboratory, to your activities and processes to reduce and minimize some risks, especially risks which reduce some incident or accident and costs. And what is very important to you is the key to have basic understanding of your processes. If you understand your processes, you will know your risk. Okay. If you understand well your job, what are you doing, your activities, step by step, you will know to identify your risks. Okay. And maybe as owner of the process, you maybe know better what you should undertake and how to solve some problem if occur. So what to move towards is it is also very important for successful implementation of this guide. I would like to mention again, you are not certified related to ISO 31000. It is only a guide to help you. I have here also case study. If you have time, maybe I will talk about this case study later on if you have time. I mentioned that on a previous, maybe last 2 years ago. Very interesting case study, how big companies did not recognize the context. External context, internal context, interested parties, who are the interested parties, and when some accident occur, what happened. It could be big problem. Everything is okay when it works properly, but when some incident happened, then you have problem. All staff have problem in that case, and in this case study, you could see that. I will show these slides on the end of the presentation. When you have investigation, it is very important who is responsible for some activities, and that is very important you to have teamwork related to your risks. So when you are ready to discuss about your homework, just tell me. Okay. Is risk management heavy, or risk management is not easy to maintain? It depends of you. It depends how you manage with that, which methodology you use. And I always mention, do not be so much complicated. Also mention it depends of your activity and scope of your laboratory, of course. Regulations are on the first place, laws are on the first place, of course, environment protection, etc., etc. But especially for context, internal context, it is important to not so complicated too much, actually. Start from the minimum. So what is important for you as a risk manager? Ask yourself these questions. Actually, it is important for stakeholders. Whether it creates added value. Will this help us achieve our goals we have set? The next question you should ask yourself, how will it work in practice? Will it be relatively easy to treat and monitor? Very important question. Because you could find many risks, undertake some activities, but will it be easy to treat and monitor? And how much resources, assets, staff, and other facilities we need to treat that? That's the way we know work in the laboratory, develop our system, document, for example, risk register, and how we run our processes with reference to possible risks now allow us to manage our business, our activities. Are risk management methods reasonable and yet sufficient sensitive? Very important question. Okay. Just try to answer this question. But first of all, when you implement any of these standards, the first question is why I need that. That is a question for top management, actually, for owner and top management. Why I need that standard? Is it only for pro forma, for some tenders, for image, or I really want that to create added value for my company and for my organization? What could be problems and challenges? Okay. What could be possible problems and challenges during this process is not enough or no education. We mentioned that in previous case in some laboratory, but it is often in many organizations because they do not have culture, that kind of culture in organization. Actually, one of demand is commitment. First of all, leadership commitment related to quality management system and risk management also. So culture in the organization, in laboratory, depend 90% from leadership, from highest level, okay? And to prefer to share common vision with your staff to be motivated. So what is the next possible problem and challenges during these activities is too much investment in complicated risk processing methodologies. So just be careful. That is the reason why I mentioned before, start from the minimum. The next one is most of the non-conformities defined in the audits were written because the organization does not, or laboratories does not follow to what it has prescribed regarding risks. So just be careful about it. Don't put everything you know about this item. It is not so necessary. Don't put on the paper everything you know about risk, about, etc., because after some period of time, it could be very tough for you. Okay. Because when some third party comes to you to assess you, what you written in your procedure, you must be in line with that. Okay, and it is important to read standard properly and what is mandatory for you. What is mandatory for you, first of all, and of course, a good practice also is useful for you, what is suitable for you. Just not prescribed any procedures and instructions, also any information regarding risks item, what you could not be in line with that. The next possible problems, actually, we could call that challenges. I don't like to use this word problem. Next challenge could be the organization does not follow to its own written procedures or work instruction, and this is defined as nonconformity. Yes, it is nonconformity if someone comes to you and you written some procedure, but you could say, okay, but standard doesn't ask for that, but you written that procedure, that is nonconformity, of course. Nonconformity, I mentioned yesterday, is also if you could not recognize some risks, but not always. Not always. It depends of activity and influence of that impact, actually, of that risks on your goals and your essential activity. It is very important to continue your essential activity without any problems. So, what I put here also, it was interesting, what you should to know. Quality manuals, policies, procedures do not make up the whole system in your laboratory. They are just part of the system you should know. Many people don't know that. They mean if you have so many policies, procedures, quality manuals, that is our system. No, that is not your system. They just help you to have good quality system. Actually, some quality standards are mentioned, the name is not so good. The quality management system actually could call system quality or something like that. Okay. So quality manuals, procedures, and risk register are documents that are in the register on shelf or on an intranet that no one uses. That was the case sometimes. It is also non-conformity. Then in your organization, there is a situation that you have some pro forma. You could recognize that immediately if some is because of pro forma, or just you have successful implementation and benefit of it. Is it easier to prepare quality? This is a question for you, if you like to involve in it. Is it quality manual easier to prepare on 30 pages, 30 pages, or is it easier to prepare quality manual on 4 pages? This is a question for quality managers. Is it easier to prepare quality manual on more pages, for example, 30 pages, or less pages, for example, 4 pages? It is easier to prepare quality manual on more pages. It is not easy to prepare quality manual on 4 pages, for example. Much more information you have to put in 4 pages. So that is very interesting when you are doing that in practice. You could see that. Okay.
Alma, just I want to highlight that quality manual is a document that describe your quality management system, and it could be, possible to have it as minimum as 2 or 3 pages. Is that
yes?
okay?
Yes, it is possible. Yeah, but I don't recommend you to have quality manual on 4 pages. If you have quality manual, maybe of 30, 20 pages, okay. I just want to be clear. This is just observation. But if it's useful for you to have quality manual 30 pages and 4 pages, it is useful for you and your good practice. It depends of you, but sometimes when auditor comes, they have some misunderstandings and observation related to that. That is your choice. You could have, for example, 3 quality manuals if you like that, if you is suitable for your system. Nobody could come from outside and tell you, oh, why do you have 3 quality manual? If you like that, if you work easier with that, and your staff and your employees, but it is usual to have one. It depends of your activity, of course. You could describe, it is not actual demand. It is not mandatory to describe your quality management process in your quality manual. That is your choice. It's never be in the previous version of ISO standards. That's only your, but why do you ask me? I know, I understand. Many auditors ask for it because it is easier for them. It is easier for them to say, okay, send me your quality manual. Okay. So they are prepared easily, maybe before you come to your company. But what is documented is scope, context, and other issues what you have prescribed in your standard. Okay.
Alma,
Yes.
I have a question in this slide regarding the quality manual, because it depends actually on the auditors. Whatever we are providing, still it's not meeting their satisfaction, and every auditor is different than the other. Their opinion is different. You know that.
Yes.
Even they are reading word by word. One word is missing, although you have done plenty of records, you have all the evidence, but this word is not included in the quality manual, they give you a non-conformance. So it's so frustration. I don't want them to stick on something written. It's like it's an exam for them. They have memorized the whole ISO. They want to see it copy paste as it is.
Yeah. I know. I understand you very well because I have a lot of experience from both sides. I have been audited many times from many accreditation bodies and certification bodies also, and I have experience to go to audit to somebody else. So I have experience for both sides, and I understood you very well. It is a risk. I recognize, and some were put on the
how
paper.
you deal with them, based on your experience? How you deal with them?
I will be honest. You have to be diplomatic. I tried many steps related to that, your question, but not so. confrontation is not recommended with your auditors because you could get much more problem than after that. But you could not allow everything allowed. You very well informed. You have to be related to this topic to understand you what is it, and now you can explain to your auditor, because it is very risky when some auditors come to you and do not understand well standards, especially risk management, for example, especially new new standards. That is a risk, big risks for many companies. So I had a very similar situation. You could tell them what is your question for auditors, for example. Please show me in the standard where is it mandatory, where is it prescribed. I have to have all that information. Please show me. Okay, that is the first question. Then you could not, you should not know all standard to have in your head. It is not so necessary. The best expert does not have in head all standards point by point. Just put with you your book, your standard, your documents, and read on the place. Please show me which point ask from my organization, from my company and laboratory to have quality manuals on the type, to have procedure, and then you have knowledge about it and you have to talk to them, and that is one way. But it is risky. It's only risky. You come your auditor with the lowest level knowledge than you have in your institute and in your laboratory. That could be always. Accreditation bodies are also sometimes seems like inspections. I also trained people related to how to be peer reviewer, how to be good auditor. It is guide, I strongly recommend guide 19011. For this situation, it is actually guide for auditors, how to audit people and what to ask, what atmosphere and many other issues. So it is problem. I recognize that as a risk. I recognize it and put that risk. Put it in register. Put that risk in register. Yeah. Why not? Because one, I mentioned previous one of auditors asked me to have a procedure for context. The next one told me, "Are you stupid?" Not directly, but "Are you stupid? Why do you need the procedure for context?" Sometimes I did not say anything. Sometimes just should be diplomatic because auditors, you don't want to have bad relations with accreditation houses, certification houses, etc. Be diplomatic. Say, okay, yes, but could you explain me? Could you show me where is it demand in standard? You don't have it. He could not find it. Okay.
Yeah,
It
this
is
is
not.
what
It is
happened
not
with me,
conformity.
Alma.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what happened for me. He opened the ISO standard on the specific clause. Let's say, for example, it states program. He's saying, where's this word in your quality manual? I cannot read program. I said, okay, does it have to be in my quality, or do you want me to show it to you physically? I have a program, I have done it, just check it. No, he wanted also, it's written in the quality manual.
No, that is your choice how you want to document some information. You do not need that even in the paper form. Okay.
Exactly. I told him even quality manual now is not mandatory. If I did not provide your quality manual, you cannot even give me a non-conformance as long as I'm implementing everything. But anyway, as you said, diplomatic way, sweet talks, going back and forth until, he just give us an observation. Yeah.
It doesn't work. Anything doesn't work in this case, if I understand. Well, in some cases, it is not so usual, but you have your right. Some accreditation body or certification must send at least 7 days before they come to your organization, to your laboratory audit plan. You have a right to say, I do not accept this plan. I do not accept this auditor, and prescribe the reason, because that is your right. You can do that. You can do that. Give me another auditor, but you have to say why. Okay.
We kept it this one in our risk register.
Try to avoid this step. Try to avoid. But if you could not avoid that, I had a very bad situation in some cases, many situations. Maybe it's not time to talk just now, but you know, sometimes you have to say that. You have some very confused people in some area, and you just that's your right to stop audit. You could stop audit also when they come, and you could not to find common communication, normal communication. And then you could say, I don't want to continue. We will stop here. That is the final solution if you do not some other. But that is a risk. That is a risk how they understand and how they explain the auditors from one certification house, for example, different explain points clause in standard. That is, for example, correct me if I'm not right, it is similar with laws. With laws, so some regulations, we have some experts for laws. Oh, no, that means something different. But what is steps to minimize that risk is to be well informed, to have information correctly, and you could discuss to your auditors and explain them. And in some way, you could be successful, but don't on the start be confront with them. Oh no, you don't know. I know better. No, it is not so useful. It's not. You could be much more intelligent, etc., etc. But most of them during this auditing is emotional intelligence. It is very important. Nobody learned us in the school that, but I think that is the most important in life and in this job, especially during auditing. And I couple years ago, I prepared one training for a different side. What you should talk when auditor come. Okay, in my company, what should you talk and what you should say and how, what is your habits during this audit? It is very, very useful for some. It is for my experience, actually, for many situations I collect. Okay, yeah, I understand you, and that will be problem in the future. Okay?
Salma?
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Samia and Ms. Salma, as a witness auditor, I would like to comment on here. Sometime when we are checking for the documented information, if the manual is prepared according to the standard, then definitely the only one thing is left, that is opportunity for improvement. And that is one of the objective of any audit, that if, for example, recently we found one manual, where are your interested parties? You have 4 or 5 interested parties, right? So in that case, if the auditor will object or recommend you to include more number of interested parties, that is always an opportunity for improvement. So I believe that's the purpose, and that's the requirement of that's the overall objective of all the organizations, that we are implementing standard and getting audit just for the improvement of our system. As Ms. Helma said, if it is not required by the standard, and then of course it can be an opportunity for improvement, not conformity. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, it could be observation. It could be observation and just recommendation for next improvement. But it is, I find 2 different questions here. You told if you recommend interested party, actually it is connect to context. You have to document in context. You have to have documentation about internal external context, and that includes your interested parties. If you do not recognize some of interested parties, it is it depends also, but it could be observation. That is okay. That is okay for me. But what I would like to say here, if you have quality manual, you do not need to prepare your quality manual related to the standard to close the standard. You do not need to have quality manual point 4 and the same in the sound. Okay, point 4. You do not need that. You do not. You could prepare quality manual without any points, without any clause, just to describe your system, your processes, etc. So that is not demand if you have quality manual. But if you like, you can do that, of course. But it is not non-conformity if you have a quality manual related to your standard, related to the point of the standard, and somebody comes to tell you, oh, point 6 is you are missing. In standard, you have 6 point risk management, etc., or planning, and you did not put in quality manual. Okay, but you do not need to prepare your quality manual related to that point. Okay, am I right? Okay, let's go. Thank you for your comments. Yes, yes. It is interesting. So you are auditor, and you mentioned actually you are not inspector, you're just auditor and want to improve some system. What I could recommend during these audits, especially during internal audits, to find much more finding, and explain your staff and employees it is for improvement. It is only for improvement. Don't worry about it. It is better for you, for your laboratory, to find you and recognize you, your non-conformities, to put it on the paper, documenting it, before come third party, before come accreditation body or certification body. And then you could say that I recognize that. Yes, I undertake some action related to that. It is much more better. It is not so good if third party come auditor and find many non-conformities. I heard somewhere, so 30 or 50 non-conformities, something is wrong. Something is wrong with auditors or auditor methodology, or with some organization, it is not so normal. So I recommend internal auditor finding so much more. And if you have some findings and documented it, non-conformities, no one else from third side auditor can repeat it again. Okay, am I right?
And yes, and Ms. Alma, and one last thing, and that's the purpose of stage 1 audit, where the auditor will sit with the auditee to find out that the quality manual has communicated well all the requirement as per standard or not. So that's why in stage 1 audit, we are considering it as area of concerns, not any non-conformity or any other things. So area of concerns mean you are mutually agree with the certification body or conformity assessment body that the standard has been the quality manual or any other manual has been prepared according to the standard. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the good practice is actually many of these bodies, conformity assessment bodies ask, and accreditation bodies, etc., ask to see before they come to you, to send them quality manual, and we call that previously general procedures, etc. But also you're right, is not to send. Because many private company, because I was quality manager in auto industrial previous many years ago, 8-10 years ago, and the owner don't want to send quality manual to certification body. No, that is private information, that is confidential. I don't want. Also, they don't want to give quality manual to Deloitte revisor house. No. Just you could sit and ask me what you want to know, and I will show you papers or something, etc., etc. So we have many cases in the practice, but also it is easier. It is easier for you if you have already quality manual. Keep your quality manual. Just edit some new requirements and change something to be suitable and for you and for your auditors. Okay.
Yes, right.
So, what is also could be have a challenge when the system in your organization, actual system you have in your laboratory, one with which you are domesticated, usually undocumented. It could be also a problem, lack of documentation. So be careful in the case also. Used for a long time. Okay, we are going to go like this. We're doing that many times. We do not need the changes. It is risky, very, very risky. And they assuming and finding some risks approximately. That was previous risk-based thinking, implementing risk-based thinking ISO standards. It was a common approach like that. Oh, I know my risk. I know my approximately, not just in detail, but I know. Okay. However, the system as such function and achieves some quality of products and services. So the next is formal system. In many cases, I saw that they have copy-paste system. I don't like that really. You have to have quality life. You have to have quality life in your laboratory. Sometimes you have to put complaints to see from staff maybe and from your customer also. But if everything is always okay, in some organization you come, oh no, we do not own conformities, we are perfect, we nobody complained, we are the best. Something is, I don't know, I'm suspicious also related to this system, and that just to check, is it only formal system, just using previous information, use the history of documentation, of course. Okay, such a formal system usually contains lengthy risk processing procedures and very extensive written procedure. Also be careful related to that. But if you like it, if it's easier for you, that kind of procedure, it is okay. Because you do it to benefit for yourself, not for auditors at all, okay? It depends of qualification also of auditors to know, to read quality manual on 4 pages and to know everything he need, or 30 pages, etc. That is not your job to easier than, okay? That is easier for you and your processes and benefit for your organization. Okay, the next, do you have some much more experience related to that? Some other participants, I will appreciate, I would like to share some other knowledge, some experience from other laboratories, something different to know, maybe something, maybe we could help with our advice also, because as I could see during this session, we have many people who have very good experience related to quality management systems. Okay, what should be avoided? Long method procedures, too extensive formulations for risk processing should be avoided. Okay. If you have some regulation, you should to be in line with some regulations. Standard is on the second place, of course. And then if you have some long procedures, working instructions, and other documentation, many of people from my side of view and from my experience don't want to read them. Don't even use them, okay? And that is a big non-conformity now. And of course, you should to know the majority of the audience to which these procedures are intended, are the people in production in your organization. Okay, then you prepare your procedures. That is not for your auditor, for others, okay, to see how much you know. Don't put everything you know in risk procedure, for example, etc. It is actually for your people and for your staff. And you should bear in mind all the time. And you will have successful implementation risk management if you use this advice. What should be avoided next? Also, opposite, the methodology should be applied simply. You should always keep in mind that people whom the methodology is intended, skills, knowledge, experience, etc. I just said it. So I mentioned and repeat again, you don't need to write absolutely everything you know about on the topic of risk management. You should always start from the minimum. You could always make some improvement or changes through a revision of the methodology. And when you are doing revision of methodology after management review, of course, and maybe before that, of course, on some meeting, because I told every meeting you can use as management review, just documented it. but at least 1 year. But using monitoring, during monitoring risks, it is recommended quarterly, every 4 months, but also depends of your time, of your activities, and scope of your laboratory. Half year is also, 6 months is also, I think, is enough for monitor some risks, but also it depends if you have high ranking risks, you should undertake immediately some activities. And what is conclusion actually? If you want to have a successful implementation, this guide 31,000, knowledge, well-informed, familiarity, understanding. It is very important to understand. Practical experience also is very important, and I also mentioned common sense in order for the system to be well implemented. Okay, so shall we discuss now about your homework? So Omar, can we now, if somebody want to read from the laboratory risk identification, how they identify, okay?
Alma, I did
feel free.
not receive, yeah. I did not receive any, but it's open for the participant if anybody want to present, yes.
Talk. Okay, somebody, if you like to invite some to present now, it is okay. But they will send to you later, it is okay. So I asked, I will repeat who was absent yesterday. I will read it again. Risk identification, risk management process based on these guidelines encourage your laboratories, your organization, and individuals to identify and assess different types of risks. Please identify at least 3 risks that your organization or laboratory is currently facing or can be faced within the future and explain why. Next step, risk analysis. I put it, I think it is important. It is also connected with business resilience, standards, business continuity, environment protection, etc. If you have some experience related to that, I would like to hear today. It is essential to your organization compliance with environment protection laws and regulation at all times. Being the risk manager, for example, you are assigned to task of analyzing the risks that may arise from failing to comply with health and environment protection and regulations. Okay? This point is important also regarding to risk analysis. So if somebody want to talk about risk analysis related to this I mentioned. And risk evaluation. After that, you have already carried out risk identification and analysis in cooperation with your top management of your organization. And next step is risk evaluation. Elaborate how you would carry out this task. Okay, we can talk now about it. If somebody maybe some of you can talk about risk identification, somebody else talk about risk analysis, not only one person to talk about all of these steps. Okay, and somebody else to talk about risk evaluation. Is it okay? So I would like, if you don't mind, Samia, I heard you have implemented business continuity, health occupation, and environment policies, actually standard. So if you like to share your experience related to this business resilience standards with us, I really appreciate it.
Okay, one of the risks related to environmental protection, it was we have identified regarding the noise pollution, especially from the machines and so on.
Sorry for interruption. What is the scope of your laboratory? What is the scope? Could you, maybe somebody doesn't know?
Yes, it's ionizing radiation dosimetry service providers. So we do calibration only on the dosimetry field, not radionuclides and not neutron measurements. So it's with the air camera rate, survey meters, ambient dose equivalent, and the personnel equivalent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And okay, let's go.
Yes, so regarding the environmental protection law, we have identified some of the risks or the hazards, such as the noise pollution that is coming from the machines, where's the working environment for the staff, and how we reduce it. One of them also, we are consuming a lot of batteries, and batteries is provide a harm after you know that you want to dispose them to the environment. It's not allowed. So how you will proper that you do collection and how you dispose them correctly. We have the specialist of the occupation health and safety that he collect all the batteries in one container and dispose them in regards to the environmental protection law. Now we become everything digitalized, so paperless to become eco-friendly and environmental friendly. No using of papers. So it's been eliminated, this risk. Thankfully, we don't have anything discharge of chemicals or biological hazards. So in my lab, this is not, it's not one of our risk. One of the risks also we have identified, it could be the saving of the energy, consuming energy a lot. Will be, it's harming the environment.
Because of cost. No, not cost, just because of influence of environment.
Environment and also pollution, because we are using, gas and energy and so on to have an energy within the lab. To eliminate this.
You have to be in line with the regulations related to the pollution. You have some limitations, I suppose, prescribed with some regulations, laws.
Yes, it's based on the ISO 14001.
Yes, it is based,
the environmental aspects law.
Yes. You have environmental aspect, of course, and AMAS also you have, and environment management system is 2 points. But on the first place, I suppose you have in your country some regulations prescribed first related to environment protection, and then you have ISO 40,000. Am I right?
Yes, but I'm not familiar with that. Because I'm not specialized in this area. We have a designated department who's dealing with this one. They have all the policies, procedures in this regard, and we are, as an end user within the organization, we are following the procedures and implementing. And on a regular basis, they are conducting audit. We show them that everything is in place.
Great. And you have risk management actually very similar with other standards, and with the 31,000 is also useful for implementing 40,001. And you have actually, already defined
integrated management. Yeah, it's because we have multiple ISO standards. So we have developed as integrated management system. All the ISO standards, we don't want to be conflicted each other or duplicating. So whatever it's, so everything it has been harmonized.
Right, great. When you have, for example, internal audit, how do you conduct it? Do you conduct it and auditing integrated system whole or separate? What is practice in your company? And when you have management review, also I would like to know some information. It's also connected with risk management.
Okay, for the
risk registers, is it complete on one sheet, on one register? All of it, all of your system, or it is separate? What is your practice? What is the best solution for your
Okay, for the internal audit, we have also a designated department regarding this one, and they have selected some of the employees all around the organization from different departments to be trained in intensive training courses to become as an auditors. So on annual basis, they are the focal point. They do the program, as you said, the plan of the audit, the preparation, everything. During the audit, they provide them all the list of the ISO standards as a checklist. You have to follow these ISO standards while you are conducting the audit. So I'm one of them, actually. So when we go to the auditee, during the planned audit, or let's say the preparation, we provide them during the invitation what are the standards that it will be conducted as a scope, which clauses and in which area that we will focus on. So during the audit, it's multiple questions. It's not only related general, the ISO 9001, but also concerning the environmental aspects, occupation health and safety. If it was within the lab, so it will include also the ISO 17025
Yeah,
and so
okay,
on.
you have implemented ISO 45000 occupational health safety. Yeah, I understand. If I understood, you have team auditor team, and they go to conduct your audit. And what is my question here is actually who educate your auditors, and is your auditors auditing some specialized some area for example, environment protection, because related to guide 19011, auditor could be auditing all your system, integrated system, but
It's all, but we have a lead auditor who
yes,
is,
lead
he's
auditor
checking the checklist,
decide.
yeah, and
Yes,
approving
he decide who
everything.
will, yes, team auditing, and he bring with he could choice to have expert, for example, for ISO 40000 or 45 or which else, but auditor could bring with them also experts for some area, and expert not always is auditor. It is different. Okay.
Yeah, as a consultant, we have as well. Yeah, he's always accompanying us, observing and giving us recommendation, advice, or sometimes even he's interfering with us and giving recommendations. Then we are following. He's also with the lead auditor.
Okay. Yeah, it is usually during peer review. Peer reviewer could give you some advice, but if some accreditation body come to you or certification body, they don't want to give advice because they don't want to load them. It is a conflict of interest if they
yeah,
say
but this
sometimes.
is what I'm describing is internally. It's
but
not
what?
as
Yeah, great. But what I would like to say is also that you could have some expert for specific area and lead auditor. Lead auditor come with them some expert to ask for their opinion for some if they don't know for some special area. But sometimes, audit report also prepared auditor, not expert. Okay.
It's all in one standard format because we have a template and it will be reviewed by the lead auditor as well. Yeah,
Okay.
and if there is any conflict, he will go back to the auditee, everything to make everything is fine with the corrective actions. We have to take the approval from the auditees. Otherwise, we cannot, proceed with the non-conformance and issuing the reports, so on.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and as a specialist, and experts we do have from each department who is specialized in this area, he will be more focusing on auditing. Let's say I'm within a laboratory, so they will give me to audit the other lab in the ISO 17025.
Yes.
While the
That's a
expert,
great position. Yes.
And
He's
the
not
occupational health and
owner of
safety
that
specialist.
process. Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Yeah.
So whoever has the role in this one specialized, they will provide him the lead in this ISO standard.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you, Samia. It's very good to hear that you have a great experience and a very well integrated system, and it is very good example for other participants and for me to hear that. Thank you very much. And also, I will give space from some other participants if like to say something related to this topic, related to this experience, related to this item. When we talk now with Samia and Omar, okay, thank you, Samia, again. And somebody else want to talk? Okay.
Alma, I want to highlight because Samia has identified many risks. Some of them, they are not related to 17025. What would like to focus and risk that related or impacting the result of calibration of testing.
Okay.
That's
I would like to hear
what's
some
our
related to
concern.
7025. Yes. Thank you, Omar. Okay.
Yeah,
If somebody wants to talk related to some risk of, I just gave you one example related to reliability of calibration result. That was the goal of one laboratory, and not very well educated some staff, and some action should be undertaken to solve that recognized risk. So just I'm inviting other participants related to the risk to concrete to this laboratory to hear that. Feel free.
Alma, there is a clause, I believe, in ISO 17025. It's stating that we are not only following the minimum requirement of the ISO standard, but also the national regulations and the laws. If the national regulation of the country is stating that you have to follow the environmental protection law, then it has to be integrated as well, need to be followed. Yes, it is not affecting the lab core business. But it's because, as I said before, we have multiple ISO standards, not only ISO 17025, even it's not concerning the lab quality management system, but the environmental aspects, which is ISO 14001, then we have to follow if we are certified with that.
Yeah. Yes.
But as Engineer Omar, he said, if this is not related to the ISO, then no need to do it if you don't have the ISO of 14101.
Okay. Yes, I agree. Yes, it is integrated system. It is also connected with 7025 or 7020, whichever your standard you have, Series 70 also in your organization. You have also, I think it's point 8 in 7025. You should identify all risks. And external issues and context. What is context of your laboratory is very important. And what Samia said, it is also external context related to ISO 7025, including environment protection, health protection, and other integrated standards they have in your organization. Thank you. Okay. Omar, do you have something to say related to that and to invite somebody to share their experience related to the laboratory?
Sorry, Alma. I just want to share our experience in terms of putting procedure for risk assessments. It's very simple. It's not needed by the standard, but it could be, considered as a, some guidance for you. If you just want, let me do that. It's your, course. Would you like me to just show the very simple procedure for risk assessments?
Of course,
Yeah,
of course.
I can share it, yes.
Yes, you can share it. Okay, it is very useful. It is your good practice to have risk procedure, and I could recommend it. You have to risk procedures. Okay, it is easier way.
Can I
to
share it right now?
step.
Can you?
Okay, I will stop my sharing.
Can you see it right now?
Yeah, great. Yeah, flow chart. Yeah, it's perfect. I would like to see.
Yeah, you have highlighted.
Yes, yes, great.
Yes.
You have owner. You
have
define your process
highlighted.
owner. Okay. Just a moment.
This is the process owner. This is actually, Alma, we call it the cross-functional process, where there is a functional here, process owner, and it has, there is each process, it has to have process owners. QMR is quality management representatives, it could be, and top management
it
here
is
involved in that.
Quality managers, QMR, what is it? Quality
Quality
managers?
managers, yeah.
Okay, you have many quality managers, one or team or what else? Okay.
Yes, here's, you put, what's the role of the process owners, also what's the role of the top managements, here when the risk is affecting their business here. And if you look that it goes this after monitorings and updating risk matrix, you will have it. It goes to the management review meetings for review. So it's a process that, first distribute the responsibility of risk, management on the process owners and the quality managers, if there is a quality managers. Sometimes there is no, but it's done, and on the top management, because top management has to be involved in that. So that, one of the process as an example, I'm just sharing it, and it could be, shared.
It is described. It is described here. What is in your flow chart? Okay.
Yeah. Here's it could be how to, evaluate your risk based on sometimes on the cost, how much it costs you, the risk,
very important
financial
for your
cost
owner.
or
yes, very important.
yeah, here risk
top
consequence
management.
severities. for the top management.
Yeah.
And how you decide the likelihood of the and just I will view it in full page. Yeah, here's likelihood ratings, how it is, and how you judge the
okay. Likelihood rating you have here. Sorry, just description on to happen often, much more than 95%. Great. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, some this is here's risk consequence, all these. It's a procedures, by the way. It could be used to help managing your risk. Yeah.
It is very important because of what is authorities, responsibilities, who doing what to do, and to define actually steps, no confusion. That is a very useful document.
Yes, that's what I would like to share. And probably if also the risk matrix, it could be useful also in Excel sheet, where you
can we see that if you have?
Yeah, I'll share it with you also, the risk matrix. Let us again, if I can see it, where's the Excel sheet? Can you see it right now?
Yeah, just read us because I cannot see it. It's too small letters, but risk matrix. It is like, actually it is risk register. Yeah.
Yeah, risk matrix.
Yeah, great. Process warehouse, damage of item, likely share high. Establish proper storage area. What is monitoring? Inspect storage area. Great. But when you have to explain on detail what you should do, it is actually corrective and preventive action. You have one more document. What is your practice? For example, for the first risk, because your opportunities with delivery. Okay, that is great. You put opportunities. I like that very much. So after that, your management review, you have some outcomes, I suppose, related to your information, and you put some preventive and corrective action, am I right? And the recommendation for improvement related to these opportunities.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, this is just like, an examples, and you can, regarding, risk management and, the risk matrix.
And I would like to ask, if I can, who prepared this risk register matrix in your company? Is it only one person, or and who monitor? Who decide what to do? Who decide what is opportunities? Is it top management?
Okay, this is, as per the process, you have to go to the process, and it's been described in the process itself who will be, for example, as you see in the
owner of process usually is owner of risk, but not all the time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, just sharing our experience in this way.
It is great. It looks great, and I thank you. And I suppose your risk matrix and register, you discuss that with your top management during a management review. Am I right? Is this your register input? And it looks great. It looks great, and I like because you have opportunity too. Because many of us forgot the opportunities and just focused on risks. And it is risky also,
yes.
It could be also start to be complicated. It is system to give benefit for us, not system, not like auditors, not like standard says. Because I heard sometimes when I show some inefficient and complicated procedures registered, useful sometimes, they told me, well, ISO guy says 31,000. That is not true. That is not true, actually. You should choose what is much more acceptable for you. Thank you, Omar. It is very good experience. So we share with Safia and Omar. And if somebody else would like to share their experience, because we have 49 participants here now, I suppose somebody else could share something new or just to recommend us for the future, maybe
Miss Elma,
related to the yes.
you have given very good example of residual risk. Is it required to mention in the metrics?
Sorry, is it a requirement?
Is a requirement. Okay.
Okay.
Because I was looking into Mr. Umar's metrics that it is given or not.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. If you have some questions or some, if I could help with my experience, just share, just ask. I'm here if I could help, and maybe recommendation for the future trainings and education, what you are interested for. I mentioned, Omar, yesterday, business resilience standards are very important now. We saw that during the pandemic period, and it is future for all of us, not only just standard we had implement, but we must to consider all these options now in the future. Digitalization is also actual, digitalization, innovation, also business continuity management, information security management, also environment, health protection, also connect, integrate with all Series 70,000 standard, and 9001 as cover all of that. Okay.
Can I just comment on that? Actually, if you look to the standards, I think nothing saying about residual risk. It's simply you have to identify the risk and take action to minimize or avoid this risk. And that's what required by the standards. You don't want to go further than that to fulfill the requirement of the standards. Am I right, Alma?
Yeah.
Because
You do not
risk
need to complicate so
yes.
much. Yes, I agree with you. But
yes.
I would like to answer also on the previous question. If you like to know much more and go in detail with your residual, if you have some problem with that, or actually you should use 31,010 guide. And in that guide, you need all information related to your question related to how to treat your residual risk. But I agree with Omar. Yeah, you should to try to minimize, to avoid the risk, or transfer. The best solution for you is to somebody else. Take care about your risk. Yeah, if you could do that, of course. And sometimes, if you accept some risks and don't want to undertake anything, you should be also documented it.
Right. Just last question. Ms. Elma, how frequently you have to reevaluate your risk?
It depends of your activities and scope of your laboratory, and of course of your categorizing your risks. If you have many risks in high level, in heat position, you should go frequently. But usually recommendation is every 4 months. Every 4 months, maybe sometimes that is too much for some people. And some people staff don't have time always for that. It also depends of categorization of your risk, but usually 4 months, and you can do it every 6 months also. I think it is minimum during 1 year, but I think yearly is a little bit risky. You should consider maybe every quarterly, every 4 months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just I have a question related residual risk. Residual risk, when you identify the risk and you did the corrective actions, maybe the risk may be reduced, and you have maybe the probability of it also decrease. So in such case, this is a residual dose. Am I right?
Yes, yes. It calls sometimes a retain risk. After undertaking all activities, you some level of risk stayed. It is also acceptable, but what is important for you is just to recognize them. It is non-conformity. If you do not recognize and you don't know you have it after
and
evaluation.
sometimes you cannot have further corrective action to deal with the residual risks.
It is your decision. It is your decision. You should know how much it costs if you undertake some action solving that. Sometimes for some company, it is much more cost to undertake some activities.
Exactly.
Yeah, you understand.
So we
Sometimes
have
if something happened, if something happened, maybe less cost. Then you undertake some using new technology stuff, human resources, etc. Maybe much more cost to treat that. Okay.
Exactly. So we have to implement the justification principle, cost and benefit.
Yes, yes, of course, benefit for you. Yeah, not so
exactly,
standard.
And the cost, and
yeah.
the cost as well.
Yeah.
So this is the point of residual risk. So we have to have like a criteria on accepting the residual risks.
Yeah, of course. But also it depends the type of risk. It depends also on your management, how they realize that. It is very important to be in line with your top management related to your vertical communication. If they understand that, if they understand well why they need that risk management, why they need all of this, what we talked today, it is easier for you as a head laboratory or staff, quality manager, etc. But if you, your high level top management don't understand why they need ISO standard, you will have problem all the time. It not so be easy job for you.
Alma, is the risk residual is coming from the requirement of ISO 45000? Because I haven't seen it in ISO 45000. It's required, I think, because you are talking
it is
about
occupation
health and
health.
safety.
Yes. It is different. Yes. It's much more
so
rigorous.
that's what's
it's
required.
Much more rigorous. Yes, strict. Of course. Yes.
But
thank
17025 never mentioned to the risk residual.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Just also then not to mention also even guide 31000. It is only just to help you to choose your methodology, how you will deal with that. Okay.
Sorry, I think the risk residual may be related with the diminishing return law.
Yes. Okay.
Do you think about this?
Sorry. I cannot hear. It is just connection not so good at this moment.
You know the law called diminishing return.
I cannot hear, Omar. Could you help? I cannot hear your comment, but
yes. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm speaking about the diminishing return law. Maybe the residual risk depending on the diminishing return.
Maybe. Okay.
What do you mean by dimension return?
If I need to make risk very reducing the risk, maybe I will send more money to get little benefit.
Yes.
The cost.
Yes,
It means.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you understand. Yeah. Because the money is on the first place for owner of any organization. Okay, that is their interest, of course. What is quality system for owner, for stakeholder, for customer, for producer? It is different. It is not the quality and risk. It is not the same. It is not the same thing, and you should to bear in mind all the time that it is our perspective, in this, but we should to involve all other environmental aspect, external context. Okay, what is interest of government, for example? etc. It is very wide range of the topic we could discuss. We could arrange another meeting related to this to share experience.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Alma, you finish with your presentations?
Yes, I for today. Yes, and
because
just
it's 12 o'clock. Yeah.
It is 11. It is different time for me. But okay, I hope that it is useful for you. I hope so with my advice, experience also, and I learned some new from you always. Thank you for all participants, and just recommend maybe to Omar for the next some session what is interesting for you. Maybe we could train the and talked about some part of risks, just what is the problem for you for your laboratory in the future. Maybe we could arrange some another. Thank you very much.
Yes, Alma, thank you very much for your presentations and contribution to this course. I would like also to thank all the participants for being with us for the yesterday and today. I hope that this course enrich their knowledge and also skills in terms of doing risk assessments and improve the situation in their laboratories. And as you know that this is also part of the peer reviewer qualifications. So I have seen that some of the questions related to peer reviewers or auditings, and this is gonna be also tackled in the coming course because there is courses, and we will see in the coming course the role of the lead auditors or auditors, and also the role of auditee in these terms. But more focus in this course is how to do the risk assessment, identify it, evaluating, and taking an action in this. And it was covered in very beautiful way by our instructor Alma.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you, Alma. Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Alma. Thank all the participants. To who was not with us yesterday, this course is recorded, and we will send you the link for that. But we will give you today also a chance to be with us by opening your camera, so we catch your picture also with us. So please, everyone open his camera so we can, catch a very nice picture to you. Okay. We have a lot of people, by the way. Yes. Please open your camera. I will give you 2 minutes or 3 minutes to prepare yourself. Okay, for the camera. Because this is the final attempts to catch your pictures, okay, in this course. Okay, Absnood. Yalla. Just let us give them some, because some people, they would like, but they are not prepared. Okay. Okay, let's count down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do it. Okay. Yes, done. Okay, it's done. Thank you very much. Again, thank you. Looking forward. There is another course. Probably it's gonna be by the end of August, early in the September. And this course is gonna be about more details about calibration, validation of the calibration methods, decision rules, and also validation of the calibration result. So it's much, and calculating or estimating the uncertainty. So it's very technical. It will be helpful to you as peer reviewers, and I think it will enhance your capabilities in terms of understanding the technical issues related to the requirement of the 17025. This course is going to be around 3 days theoreticals and 2 days practicals. So they will